We're going to be talking with Noel Smyth, the filmmaker, about this brand new documentary, Gloriavale, an incredibly compelling feature. I saw it last night, and it's going to be having its world premiere in Christchurch on the 6th of August. So I think without further ado, let's talk to Noel. He's currently in Australia. Good afternoon, Noel.
Hi, Leanne.
Hi. I guess it's morning for you, hey?
It is. It is.
Thanks for making time to talk. What a, like I said, I saw it. I mean, I had a sneak preview. I was fortunate to watch this last night, and it's just it's a hard watch, isn't it? I mean, it's so sad to see people suffering so much in this community.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a very difficult watch at times, and obviously the subject matter delves into some quite dark places. It's a film about power, corruption, and abuse, and then exploring the dangers of religious indoctrination. But I think there's also a sense of hope in the film, even though it goes to some dark places. It finds some hope within those dark places, and that all comes from just the incredible characters that we found, these just amazing ex-members of Gloriavale and current members of Gloriavale, I should say.
That's right. I wonder, you say you got unprecedented access. It must have been such a weird time for you when you first set out to make this, and when you went in there for the first time. Did you find what you expected to find?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you ever find what you expect to find in documentary. It's you go in with the best of plans, but they all fall to the wayside as soon as you start the project. As soon as you start filming, we started this about 2.5 years ago, and I like to keep an open mind going into projects because you can't control it. You don't know where it's going to go. And if you go in with a set idea of expectations, you miss a lot of opportunities, and, you miss all these great characters and great stories that you might find otherwise.
I like the way that you wove in the lawyers, and some of the campaigners and the driving shots with them talking about, what they were trying to achieve for some of the victims. And I guess there's no other word for it, particularly the likes of John Reedy, who's struggled so much.
Yeah, that's right. It's the legal aspect was interesting and also incredibly challenging, trying to weave a legal story that's kind of partly playing out in the courts as we speak. But this film, the story starts with John Reedy, and he's an ex-member of Gloriavale as he struggles to, be reunited with his family who remains inside. But and so it starts with he starts a civil action case and brings on a team of lawyers, and we used the legal aspect, I guess, to sort of act like the spine of the film, and that allowed us to kind of explore all these issues in a much more compelling way. But even though it starts with John Reedy, it soon becomes so much bigger, and it encompasses his sister Virginia and their mother Sharon, and then they all sort of turn to the legal system in this fight for positive change.
And he's got a lot of children, and his wife's still in there to this day, hasn't he?
He does definitely have a lot of children. They all tend to have a lot of children. They have these beautiful large families, but his family is now out, which was an amazing sort of moment for him to be reunited after, I think it was about 3.5 years that he was separated from his family. So they're out now, which was incredible for him, and John's kind of moved away from the West Coast to start a new life over on the East Coast.
As you would. Yeah. You'd want to be a long way away, I suspect. Yeah. So a lot of people have gone into Gloriavale in the past, a lot of current affairs journalists and a lot of news media. There's been a fascination with the community in this country for obvious reasons, I think. It was always mysterious. And so do you think that why do you think that you are going to be telling the story in a different way? Because you've had more time? Like, what's different about Gloriavale, this new movie documentary?
I think it's a range of factors. There's been a lot, of course, there's been a lot said about Gloriavale. It's been in the news all the time. It's been on TV documentaries, but I don't think it's ever been shown like this in a cinematic documentary. And there's a big difference in that is definitely the time we spend with the subjects of the film and following their stories day in and day out over the 2.5 years. There's also the access to the Reddy family archive. One of the biggest wins for us, I guess, making the film was we found out that the Reddys had an archive of home video footage from their whole lives, which was just huge to discover. And so that really gives an intimate insight into life in the community told through our characters. And so it gets away from stuff that audiences have seen before about the surface level stuff, and it just moves it into a much more compelling kind of intimate space, I think.
Yeah, because you see the real people. It's the human element, isn't it?
That's right. And going into it, that's exactly what we wanted to capture. I'm not a fan of talking head documentaries. I think they're incredibly boring. And so going into this, we knew we wanted an action-packed documentary, and it's an observational documentary. It follows all these characters as they kind of navigate the legal system and a whole bunch of other challenges, and sort of interweaving that. That gave us a good insight into the present, and then interweaving that with the archive gave us a really good insight into the past and where they've come, and you sort of, you get a sense of how the community went off the rails, if you will.
It's interesting when you hear John, and he's so brutally honest, and he talks about how he just thinks that he wants to kill them and get his family back because he's so frustrated. And that for me was like a huge moment in the documentary. Absolutely. John was in such a low place. He'd been kicked out from the community for reading religious, unsanctioned religious materials. So here is a man of incredible faith, just kind of looking to question some of the teachings he's had, and he was kicked out of the community, separated from his family. And so at that point, he was in just such a low place. And for a man of that kind of faith to be thinking about killing, I think shows just the state that he was in, and the state that the leaders of the community can drive people to. Desperation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the scene with Sharon, which has had a bit of media, of course, in New Zealand, because she describes her daughter's death, and it's awful. Her daughter, Prayer, who was 14 years old when she choked on some meat. But the worst, the horrible thing that your documentary revealed was that she was in an isolation room used by the leaders to prevent the spread of illness, and they disabled the door handles on both sides. So she was a prisoner.
She was. It's I think that story which has been talked about, but I don't think it's ever been talked about in this kind of intimacy before, is just a horrible example of a worst case scenario of what happens in Gloriavale. It's a woman who's physically and emotionally exhausted, that feels completely powerless, and then she's having to climb in and out of a window to to run around and look after these kids. And when the worst of the worst could happen, she wasn't able to help her daughter.
Yeah, just horrifying. I mean, that it almost kind of has the feel of a thriller. Like if it weren't real, if it weren't true, it's some of it's really hard to comprehend, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's you on one hand, absolutely, but then on the other, as we've been making this, you can kind of pinpoint all of these moments throughout their past where you say, okay, that was a turn for the worse. If they had have gone the other way, maybe it would have been a completely different story. But it's just been this series of moments and decisions and inaction and lack of responsibility to turn the ship around, I guess, that's just kind of pushed it into a very dark place where there's a lot of people in there suffering. And because of the family connections and the isolation and the difficulty around leaving, people are trapped there.
Yeah, dreadful. You look at some of that footage at the start and you hear some of the residents, and they're saying, this was utopian. This was like, they didn't use those words, but, this was going to be a special place. This was going to be our place. There was so much hope and optimism for it. And you can kind of feel that perhaps at the start, everyone was feeling good about this, that they'd actually, because, there's a lot not to love about modern life, isn't there? And so I guess they thought, hey, we're going to do something different and be pioneers and groundbreaking. And it's just been so much not that. I cannot imagine the red tape that you had to go through to even get access to Gloriavale. Did you sometimes feel, Noel, that you just wanted to give up making this project?
It has been, it's absolutely a labour of love. It's between, myself and my co-director and co-producer, Fergus Grady. We've had so many moments where you lose access to characters. We've had some great characters along the way that have sort of been sucked back into the system or been pressured by the leaders, and so that we've lost access to them. We've had other legal red tape about telling the story. We've had funding issues. We've had everything you can imagine. We've had it, and it's it has been a really difficult process, but at the same time, you just keep pushing ahead. I think with any documentary, you never know how it's going to turn out, and you just kind of roll with the punches and just keep filming and then wait for amazing things to happen. And I think as long as you can spend the time, there's always good stuff to get.
It would have been very emotionally draining, apart from anything else, apart from just the access questions. But just those days, I bet there were just long days where you would just collapse at the end of it and sort of hold your head and go, oh, am I seeing this? Am I living through this?
Yeah, there are. I think I get very energized when I'm filming and spending time with the subjects. I think when you meet a family like the Reddys, they're just incredible. They're inspiring, and I find that process very energizing. I think what's been difficult has been also making it remotely. For a lot of it, I've been in lockdowns in Australia. I'm based in Melbourne here, and Fergus, my producer, is based in New Zealand. But so we've kind of tag teamed at different stages to go and film different bits as they happen. But that process of not being able to just jump on a plane when and capture the action when you need to has been really, really difficult. And also kind of working in a bubble as well. It's not the way I'd like to work. Ideally, I'd sort of we'd all be together and in a room putting the edit together and stuff. But just because of the logistical challenges of this one, we weren't able to do that.
Yeah, it does add an extra layer of complexity, doesn't it? So you must be so proud, though, because, I mean, the film's been selected for Cannes for the Docs in Progress category. Amazing.
Yeah, we've I'm just blown away that anybody takes an interest in anything, that we make, because I think there's so much stuff to watch out there that if people are willing to spend an hour and a half watching a film that we made, I just, that's the bee's knees. But yeah, we're super excited to be selected for that Cannes Docs in Progress, and to be having the premiere at the New Zealand International Film Festival in Christchurch, and then playing Auckland and Wellington at the other festival dates on the 7th and 13th of August. It's brilliant, and it's just nice as well to after speaking so long to all of the subjects in the film who have kind of said that, they've gone to the media for so long in the past and nothing much has happened. And then to finally have this film coming out, to finally have it hopefully start a conversation about the dangers of these types of communities, and also ways that, how can we help those wanting to leave the community and all that sort of stuff. It is quite incredible to be at this point now. Yeah.
I'll bet. And the world premiere is going to be quite special, because you've got a Q&A, and you've managed to get, so you've got John Reddy and Virginia Courage and their mother Sharon, and it's incredible that she's going to be there, because she's still living inside the community. She's spoken out against the leaders. What a brave woman. And then you'll be there with Fergus. And then you've got some of the advocates who've led the legal fight. So fascinating time to, if you can get to the Christchurch screening, people, I think that would be the one to go to, because there'll be a lot to enjoy.
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be a lot of interesting stories to be shared after the screening, and and as you said, to have Sharon there joining us. She still lives in the community, but she's just the most incredible woman. To see her when we first met her to where she's come now, and just how much she's grown in confidence has been really quite amazing.
Yeah, this is terrific, isn't it? And it's interesting that she'll do this. She'll go to the theatre, and then I guess the next day she'll go back to Gloriavale.
That's right. Yeah, and she, how much Gloriavale know about it, I'm sure they know a bit, but she's, even though she gets pressured by the leaders now, they want her to leave, but she just steadfastly refuses to leave, which is part painful, but also part, great to see her sticking to her guns and staying there. She
talks about the reason, but primarily being the loss of her daughter.
Yeah, well, her daughter Prayer is buried there, so she wants to stay and tend the grave. But she also has 35 grandchildren that still remain inside. I think she's got about 72 grandchildren in total, but half of those are outside, and 35 still remain inside. So it's again, it's just a perfect example of the difficulties people have in leaving when their whole lives or half their families still remain inside. And, as tough as it is, they don't want to leave their families.
No, I get that 100%. I mean, that's a huge factor. And I understand that, because, I guess, she's always got her family, and that's great. But what a strong woman. It'll be very interesting to hear her speak in Christchurch on August the 6th. Now, and of course we mentioned that this is all part of Whānau Marama, which is the New Zealand International Film Festival. So fantastic that you also get the chance. People can go to Auckland and Wellington screenings and in Dunedin, which is great. So I can't let you go, Noel, without chatting about the previous your previous work with Fergus, which was Camino Skies. Very different kind of feel, hey?
Definitely. It's, previously making Camino Skies, that released in 2019. And it's a very different kind of film, a much lighter film. It's a film about grief still, so it's not too light. But compared to this, it is very different, and also different challenges in making it. You know, that was a film that we self-funded, and it was our first film, so we were learning a lot, and we just wanted to get out there and make something, and then we just had this group of incredible characters. So it was very inspiring, and but definitely this film has, I think, stepped it up another notch in both sort of film craft and technicality, and just the story is just so much bigger.
And I mean, what's lovely about the connection between the two, though, is that they're both inspiring in different ways. Like, I think if people are expecting to see this latest work by you two, I don't think people will go away feeling bleak necessarily. I think, like you say, there's some hope there. And, you know, so I think and that's something that you also offered in Camino Skies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just our style of filmmaking and what we're drawn to. You know, I think as dark as things get, there's always a little bit of hope. And also especially in a story like Gloriavale, if we left it on a bleak note, I think there's a sense of hopelessness that tends to infect everyone, and so everyone thinks the problem is too big for them, and this has happened for a long time. You know, the problem has been too big, and so it's all been a bit too bleak. And how do they tackle these issues? But I think when you can put a bit of hope in there, it inspires people. It, you know, tells people that, okay, change can be made. This is doable. It's you know, might be difficult, but we can help make things better.
Absolutely. So you'll be jetting out to Christchurch soon, I gather.
Absolutely. I can't wait to you know, we've been seeing the film on a small screen as we're editing it and putting it together, so I can't wait to see it at the premiere in a big screen surrounded by a great crowd. So looking forward to it.
Well, I think it was a brave project from the outset, and I think you've achieved your goals. So congratulations, Noel, the director of Gloriavale, co-director along with Fergus, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say about it. Can I ask you before you go? Do you have your sights set on anything else that you can reveal for the future in terms of new projects?
New projects, nothing set in stone. There's a few projects that I'm interested in exploring, but right now I've got a 4-month-old baby, so I'm just really excited to sort of spend some more time with her. And then I'll do that, and then I'll start revisiting some new projects. But I'm sure, I get. I love what I do, so I'm sure it won't be too long until I'm back into the next project.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see what you tackle, and like I say, all the very best for the film festival, and congratulations once again. A great job.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Diane.
Thanks, Noel. Okay, enjoy Melbourne. Bye-bye. Noel Smyth, the co-director of Gloriavale, which is screening at the theatre, the Isaac Royal Theatre in Christchurch, August the 6th, as part of Whānau Marama, the New Zealand International Film Festival. And he was speaking to us from Melbourne today. That was really interesting. And if you get a chance, do go see this.